The Primarchs were the 20 genetically engineered sons of the Emperor of Mankind, created to be the Emperor's top generals and to lead the legions of the Legio Astartes, warriors created in their image. However, they would be spirited away from Terra and scattered across the galaxy by the ruinous powers, the dark gods of chaos. They were, in essence, demigods, beings imbued with incredible strength, skill, charisma, intelligence, and enhanced psychic potential, able to withstand assaults that would fell even a superhuman Astartes, such as surviving a point-blank blast from a volcano cannon, or being stepped on by a Titan, a gigantic war machine that could crush men and vehicles alike under its massive feet. Throughout the course of the Great Crusade, the Primarchs one by one were reunited with the Emperor and his armies, and in turn they would go on to lead their respective legions during the remainder of the Great Crusade, in order to reunite the fractured human race and reintegrate them back into the Imperium under the rule of the Emperor of Mankind. Seeing as the Emperor was described as being almost godlike in power during the Great Crusade, and as a god incarnate during the 41st millennium, is it possible that the Emperor created the Primarchs as a way to cast out all of his flaws and help take steps towards perfection? It's heavily implied that the Primarchs themselves were imbued with energies and knowledge that the Emperor himself gained whilst within a warp portal on Molech, and this is supported by the fact that the Eldar Farseer Eldrad Ulthran also states that the Emperor utilised dark powers to create the Primarchs. Perhaps in order to achieve the status of perfection and godhood, he chose to get rid of his human faults, things he considered detrimental to humanity, thus imbuing the Primarchs each with a fragment of his own personality. Horus Lupercal would be the embodiment of the Emperor's pride. Leman Russ would personify the Emperor's savage brutality. Ferrus Manus, the Emperor's resolve. Fulgrim, the embodiment of the Emperor's ambition. Vulcan, the personification of the Emperor's compassion. Rogaldon, the Emperor's stoicism. Rubute Gilliman, his honour. Magnus the Red, his inquisitive nature. Sanguinius, his self-doubt. Lionel Johnson, the embodiment of the Emperor's paranoid secrecy. Perturabo, his determination. Mortarion, the embodiment of the blunt and outspoken part of the Emperor's soul. Lorgar Aurelian, his passionate and naive idealism. Jagatai Khan, the Emperor's cunning. Konrad Kurz, the personification of the Emperor's cruelty. Corvus Corax, his melancholy. And Alpharius Omegon would be the embodiment of the Emperor's deceitful side. It's hard to say what Angron himself would have originally represented, as his personality and mind were altered by the implants known as the Butcher's Nails, leaving him only able to feel pain and rage, his only respite coming from the suffering of his butchered enemies. It is also unknown as to what aspects of the Emperor's personality the 2nd and 11th Primarchs would represent, as we know nothing in regards to the personalities of the Lost and the Purged. The Emperor was found to have been relatively cold and unfeeling toward his sons, despite being able to mimic emotional bonds between them. Behind closed doors, the Emperor was known to refer to the Primarchs not by name, but by their numbers, and even began to wonder if his creations were failures by the time of the Horus Heresy, which seems to hint towards the Emperor casting aside certain aspects of his own humanity. But why would the Emperor cast out aspects of his personality in the act of creating the Primarchs? The most likely reason for all of this is that in the Emperor's mind, emotion is the single greatest opportunity for the forces of chaos to manipulate humanity into worshipping them and letting them gain a foothold within the material realm. For emotion leads to temptation and corruption, which lesser souls will allow the dark gods and their demons to take advantage of for the promise of power and glory in exchange for damnation. By removing any potential vulnerability to the temptations of chaos while maintaining his own incredible godlike powers, in addition to attempting to starve the Chaos Gods by spreading the Imperial truth, the Emperor would then become the perfect godlike ruler of mankind, a ruler that would make decisions concerning his Imperium based not upon flawed human emotions of any sort, but purely upon logic, scientific reasoning, and the Imperial truth. Each Primarch's death will eventually take a heavy toll on the Emperor as he is bombarded by the returning pieces of his soul, his lost emotions and personality traits returning to merge with his immortal psyche. The plausibility of a Primarch's essence returning to the Emperor upon their death is supported by the novel Master of Mankind, where during his duel against the demon Dracnien, the Emperor unleashes a torrent of psychic fire that had taken the form of Ferrus Manus, Primarch of the Iron Hands Legion, and the only loyalist Primarch who had died up until this point during the Horus Heresy against the demon. So it can be argued that when Sanguinius died, the Emperor's self-doubt returned to him, causing the Emperor to falter, leaving him unable to kill his most beloved son Horus on board the Vengeful Spirit during the siege of the Imperial Palace, before Horus would mercilessly slaughter a loyalist who had come to the Emperor's aid. Since several of the Primarchs are still alive or rumoured to be alive, it's possible that when they die, their psychic energy will return to the Emperor, and could in turn heal him and return him to glory. Do you think the Primarchs are the personifications of the Emperor's personality, or is it too far-fetched? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.